Om.
Om.
Vande Gurunam
Vande Gurunam
Charanaravinday
Charanaravinday
Sandarshata
Sandarshada
Svatma
Svatma
Sukhabhivode
Sukhabhivode
Nishreyase
Nishreyase
Jangali
Jangali
Kayamane
Kayamane
Sansara
Sansara
Halahala
Hala Hala
Moha
Moha
Shantyai
Shantyai
Abahu
Abahu
Parushakaram
Parushakaram
Shankha
Shankha
Chakrasi
Chakrasi
Dharinam
Tarinam
Sahasra
Sahasra
Shirasam
Shirasam
Shvetam
Shvetam
Pranamami
Pratnamami
Patanjalim.
Patanjalim
Om.
Om.
So invocation is calling upon something sacred. It's like dialing out to the universe. And we do it in these classrooms in part to honor that force that provided this information and taught us, but actually even more than that, perhaps, we're invoking it. We're saying, hello, come, be with us. Just like we say hi to each other when we're on these group chats or these phone calls or video chats. We're calling upon this presence to come be with us and to instruct us and to live through us. So in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, we've been looking at the first chapter. And in looking at this, most of you are just in a sense of making these Sanskrit sounds and getting a sense of what some of the words are. It takes a while to actually be able to read the Devanagari script and to break words apart, which is what happens in the orange here on the first page, learning to break words apart. And that's where you can then look them up on a Sanskrit dictionary online. In the green is where we start to look at different codes. The language is a system of codes. And in this first page, we have Nit Rud. Ni is a prefix which means internal or native to me. And Rud is a root sound like a precursor of a verb, which means to check or to stop back. So we have made it through many of the Yoga Sutras, and I'm going to go through them quite quickly here. The first one, you can look as I chant through these today. Atta Yoga Nushasanam, which means now. Union with God shines moment by moment, or now a sequential presentation and the tools of how to find union. The second one, Yogaschitta Vritti Nirodha, which says that union with the one, or union with God, is equated with nirodha, a stopping back internally of chitta vritti, the spinnings in my field of awareness, or the drama from the past. The third sutra, Tada Drashtu Svarupe Vastanam, says, then, when I'm able to stop back the drama from the past, I, the seer, in my true form, am revealed. Drashtu, from drashtra, from the seer. Some of you would recognize from the word drishti in yoga postures, the eyesight. Rupa means form, svarupa means my true form, or the form of the self, and avastanam is away standing. So then I, the true self, stand away from the drama in my true form as the witness consciousness. Next one says, vritti sarupya mitaratra, which is saying, if I don't stand back from the drama in the past, the spinnings in my field of awareness, then I identify as the spinnings. And we see this all the time in how people say, I feel, or I am, or whatever, and then they're identifying. Whatever follows the word I is going to be an identification, usually. So here, what's being said is, if I don't stop back the spinnings, the old patterns from the past, then I'm going to identify as them. And this is the victim consciousness that permeates most of our era. People identify as what has happened to them, or identify as the limitations from their past, identify with their injuries. And so here we're actually checking that and saying, no, actually, I'm going to stop those back. I am not my past. I'm not what's happened to me or what I've done. There's something else that I am. We skipped ahead. This is the essential Yoga Sutras that teacher trainees learn in the RYT 200, the first level teacher training at Santosha. We skipped ahead to the 12th sutra. Abhyasa vairagyabhyam tan nirodha. Abhyasa vairagya. These are the two key components that bring us to nirodha, to the stopping back internally. And abhyasa means a practice. Vairagya means the state of non-preference. And these are the two winged bird toward freedom. So if I'm looking to stop back the spinnings in my field of awareness, if I'm looking for a peaceful mind, if I'm looking for bliss, then I need a practice, and I need the state of non-attachment. The next two sutras define what a practice is. The first one says that tatra stitau yatno bhyasaha. A practice is vigilance and staying there. Where? In the state of being away from the spinnings of the past. So it's a commitment to no drama, basically. The 14th Yoga Sutra, the first chapter, is the longer definition of a practice, which says Satu dirghakala nairantarya satkara sevato tridabhumihi. And it says, moreover, a practice becomes firmly grounded, dridabhumihi, or even I become firmly grounded, when I have a practice that occurs for a long time without interruption. Dirgha kala, long time, nairantarya, without interruption. And you can see down there in the green that I have listed some root sounds, and anta is a word that you'll see in Sanskrit regularly, which means end, and nir is a prefix, which means without or free from. And this word nairantarya means the state of being without end. So a practice is something that occurs for a long time without end. It also needs to be satkara, something that is truth-bearing. And it needs to be asevata, approached with devotion from all directions. And this is a key phrase for each of us to remember, that a practice is not just the dry repetition of whatever, sun salutations, alternate nostril breathing, lighting a candle at the altar. No, practice actually needs to be approached from all vantage points. And we attempt to share this with our students through the various means: physical practices, energetic practices, emotional practices, philosophical, intellectual practices, and blissful practices, the 5 layers, the pancha kosha model of a human. But also we're attempting to really come to a practice fresh and new, and try it from different vantage points. The example that I use a lot as a teacher is, I was very body identified, as many people are, until my nervous system crashed so much that I could barely walk. At that point, doing postures or breathing techniques, or the various things outdoors that I love to do that tended to bring me closer to a feeling of God, or to a calm mind, they were no longer possible because I couldn't walk. And at that point, I had no choice really but to start to play music and to chant. And so I was willing to approach God or approach practice from any direction. And that's asevata, service from any direction, a total service. we went forward, the definition of vairagya is then drishta anushravaka vishayavitrishnasya pashikara sangya vairagyam. And it's saying that non-attachment is an inner volition, a strong inner knowing, a strong statement that I will not be attached, or in this case, not even thirsty. I'll be non-thirsting for objects that I have seen or heard of, or seen or heard before myself. And this is a really strong statement. I'm making it internally. I'm going to approach my daily life without thirst for what I have seen or heard before. And that is amazing. And it's the beginner mind. We then went forward to the 17th Sutra, which was our first definition of the stopping back process internally, Nirodha. Vitarka vichara nanda smita rupa nugamat sampragyataha. And it's saying that Nirodha is sampragyataha. They have the same ending, so we know that it's talking about Nirodha. And it's saying that it is fully cognized. Ya means wisdom, pra means internal, and sam means fully or totally, perfectly. So I have this fully inner awakening process, cognitive process of the stopping back of these spinnings in my mind by using forms, rupa, connecting to forms. And the first form has thought, vitarka. That then leads to vichara, a sense or a feeling, an exploration. That then leads to ananda, a sort of blissful experience, which then leads to asmita, a sense of I amness. I amness as in I am the witness of even this bliss. And I describe this often with simple terms like originally with breathing, the inhale has an upward quality and the exhale has a downward quality. That's just a thought. Then I can investigate it. I can feel it. Then that comes to a bliss experience, a tingle. That then leads to a witness consciousness. So this is a process internally, and it's described here. The 20th Yoga Sutra was our next one, and it has a similar, one precedes the other construction, and it is Shraddha Virya Smriti Samadhi Pragya Purvaka Itaresham. The sutra says for others, that's us that reincarnated, or if you don't believe in reincarnation, technically yoga is describing that, so it would be worthy to explore more of the teachings of yoga. Even people that are not believers in reincarnation can still study the texts of yoga. And even in this lifetime, you're alive and you're born, so it's describing you here. Shraddha means faith, and that is the first step in the journey. Without faith, the yoga process is considered not possible. It's faith that allows for the courage to act, virya, which then leads to smriti, a different kind of memory, an interconnected memory. Samadhi means the absorption of the mind in the moment, and pragya means an internal awareness, like God directly talks to me. And this is a beautiful sutra, the 20th sutra. We kept going forward in our descriptions of the yoga model until the 23rd, where we learned Ishvara Pranidhanadva. And you may recognize Ishvara Pranidhana from the 5 niyama, the 5 internal codes of conduct. And here it's saying that actually you can do a lot of things, or you can align with the Holy Spirit within. And this is the fast route. We then learn that Ishvara is Klesha Karma Vipaka Shayai Aparamrishta Purusha Vishesha Ishvara. So what is the Holy Spirit? It is this distinction of the true self. Vishesha means distinction. Purusha means the true self. Also means God, the absolute. And it's the part of the true self which is it is completely polished or not in any way touched by the accumulation of past actions and past afflictions. So there's some part of me that is not whatever has happened to me and not whatever I have done. And these words are beautiful. Vipaka means the after effect. Ashaya means a reservoir, which implies like a dammed river. So it's this part of me internally that's blocked and pooling and storing shame and guilt about things that have happened to me or things that I've done. However, there's this part of me, Ishvara, which is untouched by all of that. We moved forward until we got to the 27th sutra, which says Tasya Vachakaha Pranavaha. And it's saying that the Holy Spirit has a sound, and that sound is Om. We have now made it to the level of Yoga Sutras that we've studied previously. And we're going to continue now with chanting. And before I do, I want to check in and see if anyone is available to respond to me. We just need one person out there. You'll need to unmute your phone if you're going to respond to me. So, Tracy, I see you there.
Hi.
You're willing to try responding to me?
Am I the only one here?
You're not the only one here, but you're the only one unmuting your phone, so you're going to respond to me. Okay, ready?
Okay.
I'll make a sound, you make a sound. That's all we do.
Okay.
Tad,
Tud,
japa,
chapa,
tad,
tud,
arta,
arta,
bhavanam.
pavanam.
And I don't know if you're able to see Tracy on your screen, but I am sharing the screen that also has this image.
I do see it.
And this becomes tadjapas,
Tajupas,
tararta,
tararta,
bhavanam,
bhavanam,
tadjapas,
tajupas,
tararta bhavanam.
tararta pavanam.
And try the whole thing. Tadjapas tararta bhavanam.
Tajupas, tararta pavanam.
Great. And you'll see in red there, I've used font size and boldness to help you with syllable strength. Bigger, bolder font means strong, two beats, or dvimatra, and lighter and smaller font means one beat. Tadjapas tararta bhavanam.
Do you want me to do it again?
Yeah.
Tajupas, tajupas, tadar, pavanam.
Great. And so just close your eyes, Tracy, and I'll walk you there. Transliteration is a problem because there's actually no th sound in Sanskrit. Is considered a problem, not a euphonic sound.
Mm-hmm.
So it goes tadjapas,
Tajupas,
tadarta,
tadarta,
bhavanam,
pavanam.
tadjapas,
Tajupas,
tadarta bhavanam,
tadarta pavanam.
tadjapas, tadarta bhavanam.
Tajupas, to the middle part. Tajupas, tadar, pavanam.
And this is no small deal that we're doing right now, because actually this is what this sutra says. But more than that, what's happening right now is we're having a practice with non-attachment, right? And this practice with non-attachment is what brings us to the childlike mind. So just stay with me, Tracy.
Okay.
Tadjapas,
Tajupas,
tararta,
tadarta,
bhavanam,
pavanam.
tadjapas,
Tajupas,
tararta bhavanam,
tadarta pavanam.
tararta bhavanam,
Tadarta pavanam.
tadjapas, tararta bhavanam.
Tajupas, tadarta pavanam.
Beautiful. And see, it wouldn't have mattered if we were like, learning to jump on one foot, or if we were learning to skip rocks, or whatever we were trying to learn how to paint with our pinky fingers. We would start off with a certain process, and there just needs to be non-attachment, right? And
Okay.
then eventually we get there. And this sutra is talking about the previous one, which was the sound Om. And what it says is the repetition of that leads to understanding its meaning.
Okay.
And so that's why, even as going chanting over and over again, I was saying that's what the sutra means. We're actually doing what the sutra says.
Okay.
So there's something that happens also from learning any new material, but new material that's luminous. And in this case, Sanskrit is luminous for each of us because Sanskrit is organized according to mouth position. It cleans up the mouth. It cleans up sounds. And so it is musical in nature, and any musical form is considered to be a gateway to the divine. And here we have Tajjapas Tarartha Bhavanam, which says just by chanting Om, you come to realize its meaning. And that's why Omkara, the making of Om, or Udgita, the upward song, Aum, is one of the most common practices in ashrams around the world. Or some kind of droning, toning sound. Tracy does shamanic healing. She does drumming. She does moaning sounds. So none of this is unique to just the Vedas. Thank you, Tracy. You can mute your phone again.
Okay.
And we're moving on to the next sutra, which is not one that I generally have the first level teacher trainee study. However, it is quite a powerful sutra, and it says, Tata pratyak chetana digamo pyantaraya bhavascha. What does this sutra say? It says, from that, and pratyak is talking about inward directed, chetana, which means consciousness. So from your inward directed consciousness, and that's what happens from chanting Om. Both Carrie and Blythe, who are on this call, have done enough of the breathing classes that they may recognize when we get to Udgita, Om, Om. We are no longer in the beginning of the pranayama sequence. We're not doing quick exhales. We're not doing this mobilizing or building of energy. We're past that, and we're now refining energy. So in pranayama, I say first we usually build or mobilize energy, and then we refine it, and then we go into the mystery behind it. And so Omkara, or this Om that we're exploring here in the Yoga Sutras, is what inward directs the consciousness. So frequently when I'm teaching that 30-minute breathing form that I've created for you all, in large part from Dr. Vasant Mad's teachings, but also from some other sources, when we get to Omkara, the consciousness is going inward, and I'll ask you to close your eyes when you chant Om and to fall in love with your own vibration. Don't make the sound for others. Don't judge your own voice. Of course you will, if you're a Pitta person, but you can even use that to let go of the judgment. And all of this, I'll remind you to turn your eye gaze slightly inward, slightly upward, slightly forward. You're unhooking your eyeballs from the sense world and turning towards the spiritual eye. And that inner gaze is a feeling. It's a strong feeling. And it's so strong that it can actually be depicted in sculptures. So there's a very big difference between sculptures of the Buddha that are done by meditators from sculptures of the Buddha that are done by commercial people trying to sell white people or Westerners pictures of the Buddha. So that inner directed consciousness, it has a feeling. And here we have a description that inner directed consciousness is also checking back or helping to disappear the blocks. And we have then the question, well, what are the blocks? What are these internal imbalances or internal hindrances? And as the Yoga Sutras typically go, the next sutra will tell us what those blocks are. Vyadi, Sthana, Sanshaya, Pramadhalasya Virati, Bhranti Darshana, Labdha Bhumikatva, Navastitatvani, Chitta Vikshepas, Taintarayaha. You may be wondering, how did I get so that I could chant these Yoga Sutras like this? I used to chant them every day. And like riding a bicycle, they're still inside of me, even though I haven't chanted them regularly for many years now. So the sutras are inside of me. They're common knowledge to my memory. My Ayurveda guru, Dr. Ladd, knows thousands and thousands of sutras. So if someone asks him, Guruji, what do you do about cirrhosis of the liver? Then he'll just kind of search in his data banks there. So this oral tradition has a real power, a living power to it. And my hope is that you all will interact with Sanskrit and enjoy some of these sutras or some of the simple chants, and then that we'll start to share this information with young people, because this rich gardening, how to live information is available, and the sooner we start people, the better. So here we have a description of the inner blocks, the antarayaha, the inner hindrances or blocks to self-realization. And you can see what they are by looking at the screen. Vyadi means disease, and sthana, like a sty in the eye, as Dr. Ladd used to say, means density or rigidity, grossness. Sanshaya means doubt or being fully asleep, hesitation. It's the opposite of faith in a way. Pramada can actually mean drunkenness or stupor. It's carelessness. Alasya is similar, it can mean laziness. And avirati means not virati or not virile, it's sort of intemperance or not being free from impulse. Bhranti darshana literally means erroneous seeing. You might recognize that drish root from drishti, Bhranti darshana, erroneous seeing. And then alabdha bhumikatva is an interesting formation. It means not obtained groundedness. So this is generally a vata disturbance in Ayurveda, but it's an ungrounded individual, and also can mean that the practices are not grounded. So in a way, it's a reference back to abhyasa, any practice not being firmly grounded enough. And then anavastitatva, which becomes anavastitatvani, takes the plural ending, ani, means all of these things. So anavastitattva is referring to not standing apart. And that is reference back to the third Yoga Sutra, Tada Drashtahu Svarupe Vastanam. Avastanam was the standing apart of I, the seer, from the drama. And here this is saying that not standing apart from the drama is one of the hindrances. An is a negation of avastha. So this sutra is a very common one. A lot of yoga teachers quote this one, the 30th sutra of the first chapter. This is a good moment. I'd like to pause and offer those of you on the call an opportunity to ask any questions if you have any. You'll need to unmute your phone in order to do that.
I have one, Pierre.
Carrie!
Hi. Is it okay if it's back to the Sutra 115?
Absolutely. Let me spin our way back there. I'm so glad to hear your voice. Okay, here we are.
When you say I approach my daily life without thirst, like how do you approach like goals or things that you want? I mean,
Really good question, Carrie. And this really gets to the heart of what we're doing here, what we're each exploring and what we're co-exploring. I'm playing the role of a teacher here, but really I'm more like a brother to you all. That's the question, non-attachment or non-thirsting, vairagya, the state of non-attachment, I say regularly and frequently, it is not like tune out, drop out, oh, nothing matters, man. Like it's not that. It is actually non-attachment or non-preference is not having goals. Okay, it's approaching a practice with beginner's mind. So non-thirsting for the carrot at the end of the stick. Are you following me, Carrie?
mm-hmm.
So Americans are programmed in this, do things for what you get as a result. That is the myth of really secular capitalist society, and which lives under this myth of an infinite biosphere. We don't have an infinite biosphere. We have a finite biosphere. We are burning it. Without getting too far on a tangent, all spiritual traditions are saying to live life according to principles and moral principles, even if it's not, seeming like it's going to get you what you want right away. And it's what our beloved Obama family used to talk about, the art of teaching delayed gratification. So I do what I know to be the practice without attachment to its results. A common example I give, Carrie, is, okay, I'm doing posture practice, and I want to do a forward bend. Well, yesterday I could touch my toes. So today I'm going to make myself touch my toes. Does that work?
Yes.
No, I mean, yeah, it works as an example, but it's not a way to practice, right?
Oh, right. No.
Okay.
Yes.
So all I do is show up and be with the forward bend the way it is today. I'm still doing a forward bend. I'm still following the exhale and engaging the front of my legs, right? I back off, inhale, lengthen my chest, extend the spine. I follow the exhale into deeper hip flexion, right? And I just do that exploration, but I am not attached to how far I get.
Okay.
Now, from a broader perspective, or actually, let me use one more example from the simple yoga teaching analogy. I'm doing pranayama sequences. So I'm doing breathing explorations or energy explorations. Well, yesterday I reached this place where when I inhaled and I got to the top of the inhale, I could just float up there. I just felt effortless, like a balloon. I was up there in the felt sense of the sky, looking down on the earth, and I had no need to exhale. I was just up there, just enjoying it. And then I exhaled, and then it was like I was exhaling down, down, down. Then I was like I was going underwater, and I got to the bottom of the ocean, and I was just effortlessly down there, empty. I had no need to breathe at all. So since I did that yesterday, today I'm going to look at my watch and I'm going to make myself hold my breath as long as I did yesterday. Do you follow me? That's not what works. If people practice that way, they're going to create distorted impulses behind their heart, and they're going to mess themselves up. So it's one thing to mess oneself up, like physically, like to force a forward bend and to tear at the tendon attachment at the sitting bone, and to get yoga butt, like a burning feeling where the hamstring inserts. But it's a whole nother thing if I start to totally mess up my biorhythms and create a deep sense of anxiety, and possibly even create the precursor for a heart attack or a stroke, right? So those are simple examples of practicing non-thirsting, or non-attachment to objects that I've seen or heard of. But from a broader perspective, Carrie, it's a way of living life. Earlier today, I was on a call with Blythe, practicing using my phone, and even that, like, here I am doing my very best to have some semblance of professional teaching here with new technology. And what happened? I left my laptop cord at Ray's place in Vancouver. That means I'm trying to do it all on my phone today, you know? So am I upset about that? Am I bothered? Or is it just simply an opportunity for me to just learn a different new thing? And I told Blythe there's another example of that. Like, I was just working on switching our dog over to a raw food diet. Well, the meat thawed sooner than I thought, and then we had meat just dripping in our refrigerator. Well, that means I had an opportunity to clean out my fridge. And that's really just the way that life is. I come to my day with a goal, right? And it's good to have routines, and it's important to have routines. And from an even bigger perspective, our culture, or our lack of culture in America, demands that we find and create routines that bring health, because we don't have culture here. We don't have, set pathways of how to act and how to behave. And so we're trying to discern and create those. We have infinity. We can do whatever we want here, but look what that leads to in terms of our diet, for example. Whereas other cultures have foods that are eaten with religious festivals at certain times of year for real reasons. The spring ones tend to help us clean out and clear out. The fall ones tend to help us build up and prepare for the winter. I'm just using examples here. So what's important is that I start my day and I have a routine and I have, as you mentioned, goals. But I cannot be attached to how that stuff shows up. And that's the point, Carrie.
Okay.
I'm going to just go down the river of my life. Okay, so I'm going to go out there with goals, as you mentioned them. But how things show up is really, that's my karma. And I cannot be fighting against my karma. And I don't know how better to say it other than I have practices, and then I have my daily life. And to a certain extent, what shows up in my daily life is for me to go through. And it's not for me to start to have any victim consciousness around. Because I do the purifying practices, whatever shows up in my life, I can have a sense of understanding of, okay, this is mine to do. And if I do my meditation techniques, if I do even breathing or even just yoga postures, what I find is what could have been a total catastrophe, like a boulder crushing me, instead is kind of like an irritating rock hitting me, or sand in my eye, or maybe just a breeze that feels a little uncomfortable. So it softens the blow of my karma. Does that make sense, Carrie? Have I gone too far on a tangent?
No, it makes sense. Thank you.
So I need to have a state of non-preference. I can't go out there trying to force my will onto this universe or onto this plan, this bigger plan. I'm just a drop in the ocean. So what I can do is I can clarify myself, and then I can go out there into the river of life and encounter whatever there is to encounter. And that includes what happens even during my practices. But it certainly, goes to, like, there's Carrie, and she's a newlywed, and you've got a marriage that you're working on. You also have a daughter. You've got career things. You might have financial goals. All of those things we can have, but underneath it, it's important when I have, sort of concepts or goals, I definitely get to, for example, and I think you'll relate to this one, Carrie, because we've spoken about this personally. Both you and I really knew that we wanted love in our lives in a human form. We weren't going to be monastics in this lifetime. So we both had this thing around a human relationship and a householder relationship and getting married and having a simple home life. But we don't get to pick exactly what that person looks like or who they are, do we? You know, like love shows up the way it shows up, right?
Right. And when?
And when? And when? In my case, you know, I pretty much just had to like fall through the relationship tree for a while until I finally got there, you know. But I had to also continually keep saying to myself, okay, I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. How do I know I'm not there yet? Because this still feels way too dramatic. This still feels way too drama filled. There's not a simple peace and love to it. I don't feel like I can exhale around this person, right? And then eventually I found it. So really good question.
Thank you.
This discernment of practice and non-attachment that Carrie's mentioning, I talk about it another sort of the basic two components that make up so many spiritual traditions. The Taoist form has the yin and the yang. It has that circle with the two tadpole shapes within it that then have the eye that's the opposite color. So at the heart of yin is the essence of yang, and at the heart of yang is the essence of yin. And this dichotomy of really structure and freedom is the interplay that we're each seeking out in spiritual life. It doesn't work to have just dry, dusty practices, all empty dogma, and all ritual that's been, done for thousands of years. And so this is just what you do. You just do this. Don't ask why. Then there's no heart in the matter anymore. And it ends up being this empty institutional form, which is really, people have trouble putting the heart into it. But it also doesn't work to have no discipline and no respect to the past ways and no listening to the elders. Oh, we can just make up whatever we want, or it's all good, or it's all freedom. That doesn't work either. So one of the images that I use is, and that's not mine, but it's like a vine growing plant that needs sunshine to fruit and thrive, like a bean plant. Well, it needs some kind of post to climb up. So without any structure, that thing's just going to wrap around on the ground and won't ever get enough light space to actually fruit. But similarly, the post without the bean plant is just a post. It has no life to it. And so this interplay, structure and freedom, is a part of the conversation, not exactly parallel to practice and non-attachment. My own Sanskrit teacher used to call this the two-winged bird that helps us fly to freedom. Practice and non-attachment. It's important to have a practice that, as is said in the sutra here, is something that I can do asevita, that I can be totally devoted to. And since Carrie asked about these sutras, I'm just going back and I'd like each of you just to reflect on when you were a child and you had to go to school, but hopefully there was something that you just couldn't wait to get home to do. And something that was luminous, that was fun for you. And so a practice should have that. Any other questions from those of you on the call? I'm going to flip forward and we're looking at the blocks to the path feel free to interject at any time. The next sutra describes what happens from the blocks. And it goes, Duhaka daurmanasyangam ejayatva shvasa prashvasaya vikshepa sahabhuvaha. And what it says is that sahabhuvaha, the blocks are then accompanied by disruptions in the inhale or the exhale, shvasa prashvasa. So disturbed breathing means that one of the blocks is happening. Angame jayatva, shaking of the limbs, is another sign that one of the blocks is happening. Duhaka, being in a bad space. And daur manasya means having a bad mind or depression. So how do I know that one of the blocks to spiritual progress is happening or to attainment? Well, here they're listed. They're simple. I'm in pain, I'm suffering, I'm in a bad space. I'm possessing a bad mind. Manas means mind and duh means bad. It's the same prefix as previously, duhaka. And that prefix you'll see regularly in descriptions of yoga or Ayurveda. Sukha, sut means good, duh means bad or painful. And these words, sukha, 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 means good space. Duhaka, 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 means bad space. And one of the ways these words are often described, sukha means like being in the groove of life. So I'm in the river, I'm going down the river. Duhaka means I'm like banging into the shore, banging into the other shore, or I'm trying to paddle upriver. Or another metaphor you might think of is like you're going mountain biking or bicycling on a dirt road, and there's like a groove that there are tire treads in. Well, I can stay in that groove with my tire tracks and then I'm fine. Or I can be kind of like going in and out of that groove. So I'm either in the good space or I'm in the bad space. I guess you could picture driving your car actually on the road or driving your car like up and over curbs continuously. So this sutra, the 31st, describes what happens from the blocks. And the next one describes, well, what do I do about them? And how do I know? Because there's that word abhyasa, a practice. And it's saying the prevention of those. How do I do it? The practice of a single true principle. Tat pratishedhartam ekatatva bhyasaha. Tat pratishedhartam ekatatva bhyasaha. So what do I do when I'm suffering in a bad space, when I know one of the hindrances is happening? The practice of a single true reality or single true principle. And I think it's important we're on this call and we're each of us yoga teachers, but really yoga is just a flavor. I mean, it's there are so many things that people can do that are luminous practices. And it's important for us to help our students, once they come to us and working with them individually, that we help them to design a practice that really fits with who they are, their station in life, the money they have in their life, where they live, their age, and what they will do. And so helping them design a practice that is that. I usually, in this modern era, it's important to me to help people find things that are in their neighborhood and things that are a time length that they can actually commit to. There's one more sutra that I'd like to do tonight before we move into the question and answer period. And that sutra is describing the first of many practices that are described in the Yoga Sutras here. Maitri Karuna Murito Pekshanam Sukha Dukha Punya Punya Vishayanam Bhavanatash Chitta Prasadanam. And the sutra is actually the first practice that's given as an example. And it's talking about relationship life. In this writing format, which is common, there are a series of 4 things that are related to 4 other things. And so 4 things are listed and then 4 other things listed. And in their order 1, 2, 3, 4, they match up with the next 1, 2, 3, 4. So Maitri matches up with Sukha. Karuna matches up with Dukkha. Mudita matches up with Punya. And Upeksha matches up with Apunya. What it's saying is that one way I can clarify my chitta, clarify my consciousness. So prasada, you may recognize, some of you will have done, you've gone to the Hindu temple or something, and at the end of the puja, at the end of the devotional ceremony, you all eat prasada. And this is the blessing or the clarified fruit or nuts or whatever it is. Sometimes it's kheer, this yogurt rice mixture. So you're eating that prasada, you're taking the blessing at the end. First you offer all of the foods to God, and then you're taking the blessing of the food at the end. Well, here it's saying your prasada in relationship life is if you encounter, and that's the bhavanata of the Vishaya, if you're encountering these objects. So if you encounter Sukha, you encounter someone in a good space, then go be friends with that person. Like you see someone like having a good time at the farmer's market playing music, then go be close to them. You see a teacher who's like bubbly and luminous, then go take a class with them. So that's what it's saying. On the other hand, if you meet someone who is dukkha, someone who is suffering, then cultivate in yourself compassion. Someone's really suffering, then use your NVC skills and say, you know, I hear that this is what's going on for you. You know, this is how you're feeling. I'm wondering what you're needing. Do you know what you might need? And it's sad how often we forget to do this with people in our lives that we're close to. It's sad how frequently around our spouses, our children, our coworkers, our parents, our neighbors, how frequently we don't have it in us to truly have compassion when someone's suffering. And it's one of the key reasons I really encourage, among many reasons, that each of us has a church or a temple that we go to every week, to be around people that we don't know, people that we know well, just so that we have a group place where we're going to remind ourselves to be compassionate. So when encountering Sukha, someone in a good space, go be friends with them. You see someone in Dukkha, pain or suffering, then be compassionate. If you see someone Punya doing meritorious action, then cultivate mudita, elation. You see someone cleaning up garbage for no good reason on the hiking trail, be like, thank you so much for doing that. Like, right on, you know, good on you. Like, I feel really touched. I too need a clean world. So thrilled. I feel so happy seeing you doing that. You know, or if a child does something, you know, clears the table or takes care of an injured animal or something, you know, just be so elated. Like, step it up and be elated that that actually happened. And finally, you see someone doing something that is not meritorious or dismeritorious, then cultivate upeksha. And this is a key one here. And this is witness consciousness, but also being able to see beyond. So that means that you see someone doing something dismeritorious, doesn't mean that you turn away. Doesn't mean you pretend it didn't happen. But it also means that you don't identify the person as only that. And so it's this witness consciousness of, you know, hey, what's going on? An example, when I was first meditating, my friend Ryan, his brother had been a firefighter. And in California, as in many places now, the forest fires are a real danger. So whenever Ryan would see someone flick a cigarette butt, he would say, "Hey man, you dropped your cigarette." But he wouldn't do it in a nasty tone. He would do it in a neutral tone. So he wasn't blaming, he wasn't trying to shame, he was just calling attention. So this ends our discussion of the Yoga Sutras for tonight. You can each, if it's in a safe place where you are, close your eyes and we'll finish with the chanting of this last sutra in call and response. Om Maitri Karuna Mudito Piksha Anam Sukha Duhaka Punya Punya Vishayanam Bhavanata Chitta Prasadanam Chitta Prasadanam Chitta Prasadanam. The clarification of my field of awareness. So wishing each of you that. So great to have you on this call. And